California was the state that made the American dream a reality. Now, the state of California is known for a very different set of images: needles and feces in the street, a dying middle class, the country's highest poverty rate, policies that prioritize illegal aliens over ailing American citizens. California is still a symbol, but today it's a symbol of everything that has gone wrong with this country. Trace Gallagher joins us tonight with the latest from the once golden state. Trace?
And Tucker, for Governor Gavin Newsom, California is humming along nicely, apparently, and he now says the Republican Party is heading into the waste bin of history. Quoting here, America in 2019 is California in the 1990s. The xenophobia, the nativism, the fear of the other, scapegoating, talking down or past people, the hysteria. And so we're not going to put up with that. We're going to push back. Newsom ended by saying, quote, what we're doing is working. I think Democrats are winning right now. Apparently somebody forgot to remind the governor that 40% of his state's population lives near poverty, and that having among the highest taxes in the country and cost of living isn't exactly giving them a leg up. And there's this. July 1st, California drivers will pay 6 more cents a gallon for gas taxes. That's on top of the 12 cents last year and on top of already having the highest gas prices in the country. Doesn't appear drivers are winning. Also on July 1st, California begins background checks on customers buying bullets. The cost, $1 for every purchase. The check is meant to quickly return information on restrictions like a felony conviction. And non-California residents can no longer buy ammunition here, period. Finally, a study by homeless advocates say people on Skid Row have less access to bathrooms than Syrian refugees, a problem which is vividly apparent to everyone in L.A. and San Francisco. But putting in more mobile bathrooms just in Los Angeles would cost $57 million a year. In other words, it's not going to happen. Got to believe the homeless don't feel like they're winning either. Tucker.
What a disaster. Trace Gallagher, thanks a lot for that. While California wages war on its own middle class and tries to build men's rooms that cost as much as houses, the governor doesn't see a problem with the state, as you just heard. Tens of thousands of middle-class families have fled and are continuing to flee every year. Meanwhile, Gavin Newsom travels to Central America, telling his citizens his priority is helping people there. As the state disintegrates, Newsom says Donald Trump's version of the Republican Party is what's headed into the waste bin of history. Maybe so, but California is going to get there a lot earlier. Victor Davis Hanson is a senior fellow at the Hoover Institution. He's also a lifelong, multi-generational Californian. He just wrote a column describing his state as America's first third world state. Professor Hanson joins us tonight. Professor, thanks very much for coming on. In what sense is California a third world state?
Well, it has all the symptoms of what we associate with social services. And the people in between are sort of like peasants outside of a medieval keep that can't survive, and so they drift off. And we were left with a sort of a romanticized indigent class, and then a royal elite that doesn't really care about the vanishing middle class at all.
From the outside, Professor, this doesn't look like a sustainable system at all. It looks like it's teetering. Do the people running it sense that, or do they think they can continue forever?
Well, they all have one thing in common. I mean, if we look at Gavin Newsom or Dianne Feinstein or former Senator Boxer or Nancy Pelosi or Mark Zuckerberg are the architects of this system. They're all in the pre-modern world where we dream of a postmodern high-speed rail system that'll never be built.
There is it is a lot like Road Warrior. Funny you said that. Professor, thank you very much for that, but
well,
that sad
it's a
but
tragic
decisive update.
It's tragic.
It is tragic.
Thank you.
As we told you in this program last month, the 3 West Coast states of California, Oregon, and Washington. Christopher Rufo joins us tonight. Christopher, thanks very much for coming on. So,
thank you. Or that up to 50% of the homeless are addicted to opioids. That's heroin, fentanyl, and other synthetics. And 80% of the people that are actually unsheltered, people living in cars, tents, and RVs, suffer from substance abuse disorders. And if you look at the numbers, only 6% of people on the streets say that it's because of rising rents. While at the same time, 80% of people on the streets are suffering from addictions, and that's the clear cause. Nobody wants to say it, but I think until we really address that, we aren't going to be able to solve this problem.
There are no opium fields in this country. These drugs come from abroad. They come from Mexico, largely. So this is a foreign policy crisis as well. Why does nobody say that?
Yeah, this is. You know, I've spoken with the DEA field office here in the city of Seattle, and they estimate that 80% of the heroin and fentanyl data, this is the best data that I think is available, but the real thing is that I think the kind of ideological factions that are in kind of the dominant position in California, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, they don't want to say there's an addiction crisis because it conflicts with their social justice ideology that the homeless are kind of virtuous victims of an oppressive society. They also want to avoid what they call stigmatizing addiction. So rather than confront the problem with clear eyes and really digging into it, they've chosen to ignore it. If you go on Mayor Eric Garcetti's website in LA, he has a kind of an outline of the 6 causes of homelessness. Not one of them is drug addiction. So they've adopted a policy of denial and deflection, and the results you can see on the streets. It's absolutely not working, and it's a catastrophe.
They're liars and ideologues. Christopher, thank you very much for that clear-eyed analysis. Appreciate it.
Thank you.